Afternoon, gorgeous people. How are you all? I hope you're well. I thought today, rather than doing our initial catch-up in the shed, I'm here. This is the ex-chickpea plants, giving them a chop into the compost bin. It's a bit, it's going a bit slowly because, oh my goodness, I need to get the shed roof fixed where the water's come in. Bit of rust on my falcos. I must get them home, cleaned, oiled. Need to look after these. Anyway, yes, so we're saying hello, multitasking, because, right, let's contextualise ourselves. It's right at the end of August. Stop that banging. We're right at the very end of August. And you can, there's a little breeze and it's blowing my very fine hairs. It's annoying. You can probably tell from the light and the background we've clouded over. We are allegedly, I don't believe it, going to have rain from, I think, the 4th of September for a week. But never mind what's happening in a week's time. I've come down today to do a few specific jobs, which we'll crack into in a minute. But sort of just walking in here today, I suddenly thought, crikey, there's actually quite a lot of work to do. Let's get some more matter to chop. One of the reasons I'm doing this is because they're in the wheelbarrow and I need the wheelbarrow. Yeah, so for the last couple of weeks or so, all I've been doing down here is, I come to water, harvest a bit, go home, and suddenly the garden shows it. It's looking a bit lacking in TLC. I think on my list of jobs, I probably could do with trimming and trimming my paths. They haven't needed it all summer, of course, because we've been in drought, they haven't grown. But that little bit of rain, where are we? It was a week ago that rain has, it's perked it up a bit, but also where I've got sort of weeds and things in the path, they've come up. So yeah, lots and lots to get on with. Sort of tidying stuff and quite a lot of the boring jobs, they're not for filming. And actually once I get stuck into them, I'll quite enjoy them. I think the thing with gardening is, yes, I'm very distracted at the moment when I come in and I see lovely red tomatoes. Need to do some harvesting today as well. It's always about harvest, isn't it? But there's always that thing as well of giving the garden some love that's not just about the plants and the harvesting. So, yeah, bit of a tidy up. So during the rest of the month, not the rest of the month, in the month to come, my poor secateurs, they're so stiff, they really need cleaning and oiling. The main kind of note as we move into September will be obviously continuing to harvest, obviously, but also just think about, the strimming, the trimming, the tidying, the storing away safely for winter if it's things that need to be stored away. Obviously half a mind on, with giving up the garden next year, I want to hand it over, in a neat and tidy state so someone can get going straight away. So yeah, that's going to be the theme for September, is harvesting, tidying. Some things can start to go away. There will be some plants that maybe start to come out and get chopped up, and they'll either go into compost or they'll become mulch. But it's just that beginning of only gently, just starting to take the garden down into a slightly more restful period. Oh, and ridiculous, all those little brassicas, if they have survived, that are still in pots and modules, I'm going to see if I can stick them in somewhere, because you know what? Maybe they'll only be teeny little plants over the winter, but a leaf or two here or there is better than nothing. And put it this way, if I leave them in those little modules, they're not going to turn into anything, are they? So yeah, lots to be getting on with. But let's get stuck, now I've freed up the wheelbarrow, and get stuck into today's priority job. Try saying that, into today's priority job. There we go. Just over there. What I forgot to just mention in terms of the September jobs, the priorities, harvesting, yes. Starting to tidy, get rid of dead plant material, what have you. But of course, the big priority is to get the shed roof fixed and a new coat of paint on, because it really is in a sorry state. September jobs. But first, the last August job, the lavender. It's gorgeous. I'm going to take my gloves off now. Just the smell as I've brushed it to sit down here. Oh, beautiful. So I'm going to get mine harvested today, and then, probably in the next couple of days, so the first couple of days of September, I'm a bit overdue, but I'll get Gary's done as well. So I get Gary's lovely harvest by way of compensation for me pruning his plants, because he hates doing it, and I quite enjoy it, especially if I get the harvest. So yeah, it's time to get a giddy on with it, because especially if we're going to have this rain. I could have done this job any time during August. I wait till the flowers are open. If you're a perfumier, the perfumers tend to go for quite often they will use them when they're in bud. The sort of the scent oils are more intense, but I like to let all my lavender flower fully, give the bees a lovely rampage in there, fill the boots as it were, then I harvest. So I could have done this any time throughout August, just doing it right at the end, never mind. Now, a quick word on lavender in general, because I get asked this a lot. And just bear in mind, you know, I'm not an expert. Not an expert at all. I think everything in my life is a bit of a happy accident. Although I did follow a few sort of basic principles with lavender. But I do get asked about it because it does put on a great show every year. These plants are 4 years old. In their first year, they didn't do anything really. They were tiny, weeny, little, I think 6 centimetre pots, really tiny little plants. I mean, bigger than a plug plant, but essentially they were tiny, tiny little babies. And look at them now, they're monsters. I mean, let's take one stalk off to give you an idea. There we go, just snipped back into the mound there. Beautiful, absolutely beautiful. Heaven sent. I know there are a few weirdos out there. Are you one of the weirdos that hate the smell of lavender? I think it's probably like Marmite in the UK, isn't it? You either love it or hate it. I love it. Right, back on point, Vivi. So, in terms of growing, like I say, I'm not an expert, but there are a few principles which I followed, which I think have helped me to end up getting such lovely plants established. So the first thing is the variety. So these are English lavender. On the other side, I did have French lavender. It was a stupid idea. I shouldn't have done it in the first place. French lavender does not stand up to our winters. The English lavenders, there are 2 main varieties to choose from. Mustard or Hidcote. I say Hidcote, it's C-O-T-E, so it looks like Hidcote, Hidcote. I think named after Hidcote Manor, I'm not sure. But there are main 2 varieties. I've got mustard here. I like mustard, I like the colour. It's not the deepest of the purples that you see in lavenders. The French lavenders that I had over there was a much deeper purple. But I like the colour, but I love the scent, and it will withstand a chilly winter. I don't know if it would stand a really, really long cold spell in the north of Scotland, for example, but down here it can withstand a bit of frosting, so down to say -1, -2, but not for prolonged periods. So we're back to Beth Chatto, aren't we? Right plant, right place. I'm in England, I'm having an English lavender. It'll withstand our winters. Now, in terms of right place, in theory, this is the worst possible soil for lavender, this heavy clay soil. So to help kind of negate the negativity of the clay, when I planted them all, obviously I planted, if this is my soil level, here's my little plug plant, I plant it to the level that it was in the pot. So I've got my hole here, but then I continued with my hole and put in about 5, 6, 7, 8 maybe centimetres of grit, a couple of inches of grit in the bottom of the planting hole. Just grit, wasn't even mixed with compost, nothing, just grit, to give it that kind of free draining that it wants. So that, I'm sure, has helped. A chunk of grit in its planting hole. But also, I've never watered them. In 4 years, they've not had a drop of water from me. There's sometimes a little bit of splash from when I fill up the insect drinking station, but that, I mean, that's barely going to reach even one of these plants. Certainly not the plants at the far end of this row. Hedge, remind me about hedge. So yeah, I haven't watered them, not a drop from me. Now, last summer we had plenty of rain all summer, so I didn't do any watering on the veggies. So they do get watered, they get watered by the heavens. But this year, great year for them. And 2020, when we had just no rain all summer, fine, I haven't watered them. I think they actually have loved it. So don't, you know what, don't be in a hurry to be watering your lavender. Now, in terms of getting a hedge effect, and I will certainly, when I move, if I've got a little front path to my door, I really want to replicate it. The biggest thing with a lavender hedge is patience. Don't expect to have this effect in your first year, possibly not even in your second year, but do be patient, it's worth it. When you come to plant, these are all planted, they originally planted 2 feet apart. There we go. It's quite a chunk of space. So a little plant here, little plant here. So in that first year, it's not a hedge, it looks really bad, and you think, oh no, it's rubbish. But don't be tempted to pack them in more closely, because you do yourself a disservice. The plants won't like it, the plants won't thrive, you won't get your hedge effect, you'll just scratty plants that are all annoyed with each other. I mean, you could maybe come to, like, say 1.5 feet, but give them the space they need and want, and give it time. Likewise, the distance from the edge of the path. Now, this path, my grass path, is completely taken over with the lavender. Can't use it. That's fine in the allotment, and I sort of knew that was going to be the case. It's absolutely fine. But if this was the walk to my front door, I'd be a bit scuppered. So when you're, in terms of, if this is the edge of this is your path here, and this is where you're going to be planting 1, 2, 3, 4, all up in a row. Just think about the distance from the edge of the path, and I would say probably a good foot back, and you'll get your nice mound. But do bear in mind as well, as we've just looked at the length of this stem, that's got to be what, I'm suddenly converted into inches, I don't know why, I'm always metric. Let's go back to metric, 30, 40, it's about 50 centimetres long. So when you're doing that initial planting next to the edge, think, well, I want it a foot back. I've just gone back to feet. I want it 30 centimetres back from my path, but I might actually put it 50 maybe even 60 centimetres back, to allow for all of this space so that I can still use my path. And therefore in front of it, between the plants and the edge of your path, you might want to plant something initially, a little bit of something ground coverish, or maybe some spring type bulbs, so that bare strip, for instance in the spring, has got nice little bulbs coming out, but then by the summer when this takes over, there we go. So yeah, that's my, my best advice I can give you in terms of what I've done, and I think it's the things which are affecting me getting decent plants. Give them the space, give them a ton of grit in the bottom of their planting hole so that they really have good drainage. They hate having wet roots. And just don't worry about watering them. Just, they don't need it. Now comes the fun bit, the harvest. So, I don't do it like that. No, I don't know why I've just done it. It's really, really quite simple. And I'm going to bring you in closer to give you a proper look. But I'll grab a handful and then I cut back quite hard. So you can see I've just cut out one of the little shoots there. I cut it right back to that original mound. It's a slight mound shape. But what I don't want to do is cut back into the woody material, because once you cut back into the woody material, you're probably not going to get regrowth from that. But yeah, just grab it by a big handful, chop, chop, chop. It's never too finessed, I suppose is the word I'm trying to use. I'm never too, it's not, what's the word I'm trying to find? It's not exact. It's not like every single stalk will be trimmed to the perfect level within the mound. It really doesn't matter, but I'm cutting it right back to the mound because I want to keep, you see, this is another thing. I want to keep encouraging this little mound to stay compact and bushy. Keep giving me all this loveliness in the summer. I want to avoid sort of it getting big, the mound itself getting big and straggly, and then bits of that flop over and break off where it's really woody, and then it gets all patchy and bleh. Not your lovely hedge effect. So let me bring you in closer so I can show you actually what I'm doing. But it's one of those jobs to just really get stuck in, enjoy it, don't be in a hurry. There's part of me which is thinking, oh my goodness, like I was just saying over at the compost bin, there's so much I need to get on with. And it's that kind of thinking that's in the back of my mind that might make me want to hurry a bit. So I'm just reminding myself right here, right now, no, today there is no hurry. This is all I'm doing today. This is all I'm thinking about. If when I've done it all, I've got a bit of time, of course I can carry on and do other things. But I'm not going to get distracted by that. Right here, right now, this is all I'm doing, and I'm going to love every second of it. And all of this lavender, once it's dried and processed, is going to go into your lavender bags that some of you will be buying later on. Thank you. So yeah, do it with care, do it with love. Don't be precious about it, but do it with care, do it with love, do it with time, do it with enjoyment, do it with joy, and appreciate the gorgeousness that nature gives us. Right, let me show you a little bit closer so you can see what I'm talking about. So you can sort of see the pale foliage in the mound there. I'm just so simply just grabbing a handful and snip, snip, snip back to where I can see the pale grey. And you can see I'm not being too I'm not being sort of too precious, and you see some of the stalks, some of them are sticking up a little bit out of the mound, right? It doesn't matter. I mean, you could, if you wanted, you could spend some time after you've harvested, you could go back in and maybe just reduce, that's new growth. You could reduce some of your stalks a bit like that. That's what I would probably do with Gary's. I will take more care over his because, in a way that harvest is payment for me doing it, so I want to do a good job. I mean, I don't think he'd be bothered either, but yeah, just as long as you're not cutting back into the brown wood. And bye, lovely. Yeah, if you're not, as long as you just, the main thing is don't cut back into the brown wood. Try and keep a nice, tidy, compact mound. And am I right in the way now? You can't see what I'm doing down there, can you? Yeah, keep the plant compact. Bob's your uncle. You should have years of lovely harvests. Obviously, there comes a point where you may... Actually, I can't see what you're seeing. Let me bring you round a sec. There is a bit of a lifespan to the plants, and you might get to a point where you think, it is getting a bit... The mounds are getting a bit straggly, it's getting a bit threadbare, what have you. So, yeah, just take yourself some cuttings in the spring. I haven't, like I said recently, I'm not going to take cuttings, just leave this for the next person to enjoy. And then when I move to my new home, I will simply start again. What I was saying about the varieties, and as I said, this is Munstead, an English variety. I've seen so often at my local Lidl in the spring when they sell seeds and they start selling compost and bark chips, and they often sell some live plants too. Loads of times I've seen them selling lavender, and they seem really cheap. They seem a great bargain. But do look closely, because what I've seen in the last few years from them is French lavender. So it might look lovely for the summer, but I doubt you'll get a second year out of it. So if you're only wanting it as a bedding plant for one summer, fine. But if you're wanting it as a long-term, lovely perennial plant in your garden, avoid. Just have a close look at the label, and if it doesn't say what variety it is at all, I would say avoid buying it and go to a proper nursery or garden centre. Otherwise you might just be wasting your money. Right, well, I'm going to carry on with this. It will take me absolutely ages, and then we'll reconvene at the shed and I'll talk about drying and storing. There's something about harvesting the lavender. It always feels like one of those cusp of the season change jobs. I think it's partly because once it's done, the bed looks so bare again after all this beautiful abundance of flowers all summer. And it's also a bit of bindweed in this bit, which is a bit annoying. I'm going to try and find it and get it out. But yeah, so I'm making the patch bare. Building work. But also suddenly I can see all the deadheading that needs doing in the herb bed. Yeah. I think definitely the last few weeks my foot was off the gas. I've been watering and harvesting, but now the temperature has cooled a little. Ooh, nice breeze. The sun's come out. It is quite warm, but it's not hot like it was. So I'm gonna have to shout above the angle grinder. Basically, what I'm trying to say is, it's nigh on perfect gardening weather now for me to get on with tons of jobs. But not at the moment. Staying in the moment. Bliss. Happy days. Such a happy sight. It's so satisfying. The first lot has one barrow from my lot. When I do Gary's, it's going to probably be about 2 barrow lots. Now to get it all in this shed. Come on, let me show you what I do. Oh, I've got quite warm again. It started out so clouded over, but since the sun has come out, I'm glowing again. The humidity is increasing by the minute. Oh, what a beautiful day though, what a beautiful day. Right, but I've brought us inside for the minute because I'm gagging for some water. I brought us inside because it keeps, it's kind of weird weather. It feels like there should be a storm coming in. Every now and again, the wind really picks up. And that's why I've come in here, because it, you know, distorts the sound. Yeah, it really picks up and then it clouds over again. I think, oh my goodness, we're going to get an absolute hammering of rain. Wish we would, but on the other hand, I want to get Gary's lavender in. Anyway. A couple of seconds later it all drops again and it suddenly goes incredibly still and steamy. So with all that lavender, it's going to take me a while to do this little bit as well. I have these paper bags. Oh, I saved them from year to year, keep reusing and reusing these simple brown paper bags. I had bought a load of these for when I was at work and I used to take spare veggies into work and write a recipe on the bag of how to use them. So hang on, crinkle crinkle. They're really useful because they've got a nice wide gusset. Don't know why I have to go like that for a gusset, but yeah, nice wide gusset. So in goes the lavender. Not too much. I mean, it's quite a lot at the moment because it's green. Look at me in my little lavender jungle. Then a loop of string around the handles, and then it will get tied and hung from beneath the onion drying rack. This side of the shed doesn't leak, fortunately. Where the roof stuff's come off, the wet stuff goes over that side of the shed, so I'm all right, but I'll keep an eye on it. I might even bring some of it home straight away. So yeah, I'll just hang that until it's dry. Now, let me put it down because it's crinkly and it's going to fall over. The reason I do it in the bags, now, The thing about it is, you could tie a lovely little bunch, really pretty bunch of your lavender together and hang it, you know, in your bedroom or wherever to dry and have the scent. And Instagram it like mad, and yeah, I get it. Pretty, lovely. I've got masses of this stuff. This is a crop. This is really, really precious crop. It's a crop. It's not about being pretty at the moment. So there's going to be no tying bunches hanging from the rafters of the shed looking all cute and gorgeous, because as they dry, those flowers are going to drop in the bags. The flowers all get caught, so when it's all lovely and dry and I take the bunches out to strip them of their flower buds, a load will drop off in the bag. I'm not going to waste a single precious flower. That's the only reason. And like I said, I totally get it if you've got just a really, like maybe one small bush of lavender that you've harvested from this year and you want to display it and have it out because it's pretty and gorgeous. I completely get that. For me, for drying, for business, it is not practical. In the brown bags they go. I'm trying to think now about how long it will take them to dry. I've never timed it, because historically what I've done is, well, I've Augusted. I've harvested a bit earlier in August than now, and then they've hung in the shed all through the end of summer, autumn into winter. I get them home over sort of Christmas, start processing. In the past I've sold them in sort of February, March. So yeah, they've hung in the shed for months. So I don't know how long they will take to dry. This year I'm going to keep a closer eye on them though, because I would like to be able to start processing them in maybe 6 or 8 weeks or so. So I'll keep a close eye, see how they go. But I think for now, with all things lavender and lavender chat, I'm going to wrap up. I'm just wondering whether to carry on with things. Take the camera back out in the garden with me, carry on with things. I'll see, I'll have a think about it. But for now, for lavender, for thinking about all the jobs to come in September, I hope you're feeling on top of things. But I would say, yeah, I think our main focus in September is harvest, 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 harvest. Keep on top of harvesting, really make the most of whatever you have managed to grow this year. And as plants, I've got a bit northern today. As plants come to the end of their life, whip them out, chop them up, get them in the compost, and all that compost that we're chucking in now, within another couple of months, hopefully we'll be putting onto our beds as mulch, either for the whole winter, or like they're covered, or maybe those brassicas. We'll see. Anyway, harvesting, tidying, chopping, cropping, dropping, drying. September is one of the really, really busy months in the calendar, September and October. So yeah, let's go at ourselves. I'm glad my bit of lavender harvest is in. I'll get Gary's done, and then it's full steam ahead with, yeah, produce and tidying. Alright, so I'll see you again really soon, I hope. But in the meantime, please look after yourselves. Get out into your gardens. Go and keep picking. There are some things... I was going to say beans, but beans have been so rubbish, haven't they? It's that kind of thing where the more you pick, the more will come. We might have just gone beyond that, and I'm going to start waffling about harvesting now. Right, instead of waffling, I'm just going to say, get out to your gardens, keep picking, keep enjoying, keep preserving, keep putting up. And yeah, let's gird ourselves for the busy month of September. Alright, lovelies. Cheerio.